Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a final review of my beloved original Pixel Fold. By the time you're watching this video, this device will no longer be in my possession because Google paid me $500 to trade it in for a new Pixel 10. And what's crazy about this amazing foldable is it's actually dirt cheap. So I got this model for just $362 back in March of this year, and it's been a complete joy to use ever since then. So before I send this device off to Google to never be seen again, I wanted to give it one last review to see if it's worth it in 2025. And if you're looking for an entry-level foldable, this might be the best phone you can possibly buy, because Google is going to be supporting this device all the way until June of 2028. And I think that's pretty respectable, especially since this phone is already over 2 years old. So hey, for just a couple $100, you get a cool foldable and a few more years of updates. That's a big win. So when it comes to my device specifically, there were some compromises to get it to the $362 that I paid for it. And that mainly comes down to the condition of the phone. So there are some superficial scuffs and scrapes along the stainless steel edges. The screens have a little bit of scratching, and I noticed the inside screen has a little bit of wear and tear on it. But for the most part, the device functions completely perfectly. Folding and unfolding the device is awesome. It never gets boring. It's so cool having a gigantic screen that you can just pull out of your pocket whenever you want to. And it always closes with a very satisfying snap. And the goal of this review is definitely to give you guys an as-is experience with my very used Pixel Fold. And you can definitely find better deals out there at this point. I know they have some refurbished models out there. I would definitely recommend that you take a look at those because the battery life on this thing is it's okay. So we need to talk about design because I think this is where the Pixel Fold really sets itself apart. And I've said it before, I'll go ahead and say it one more time. I absolutely love the passport shape of this device. Now, what makes the Pixel Fold so fun to use is the fact that the front display is short and squat, unlike tall candy bar phones that have a very tall display. And because of the short aspect ratio on the outside of the screen, it's very easy to hold on to, easy to use with one hand, and it makes the inside screen a little bit squat as well, which is great for consuming content. And what's really nice is videos look very good in 16:9 on the inside display, which is a fantastic format for watching content. And basically you just unfold it, boom, the video fits pretty perfectly. There are some black bars, but that's pretty standard with foldables. And what's particularly nice is you don't have to rotate the phone to get a good aspect ratio. It's just in a good aspect ratio the entire time. So let's talk about the design of the Pixel Fold. And as you guys can see, my phone has definitely lived a life. I did purchase it secondhand, as I said earlier. While the stainless steel is a bit scratched up, it's still very, very shiny. Yeah, we have a few dents and dings here and there. It's really not a big deal and hasn't affected the functionality of the device in any way. And the good news is all these issues can be pretty much ignored if you have a good case. And luckily for me, I got a phenomenal deal on Google's first-party case. I bought it for $5 when it usually retails for $60. And I actually have a review of that case on my channel. I've got that linked above the like button if you guys want to see it. Now, despite being over 2 years old, the Pixel Fold still performs phenomenally well. The Google Tensor G2 chip is the brains of this device. When the chip was first released, it definitely had a few, we'll call them quirks, but honestly, in my day-to-day usage with this phone, I haven't encountered a single performance complaint. It's been very smooth, and I'm not pushing this phone as hard as I push my daily drivers, which are my 16 Pro Max and my Pixel 10. It definitely handles everything I throw at it, from browsing to socials, a little bit of gaming, and there hasn't really been any stutters or lag. I've been very impressed with the processor. It really just feels smooth and buttery as Google's own OS is. I love how Google handles software. And I've said this before, but Google's approach to Android is just so fun and fresh feeling. I really love how they handle animations, and the software is just fun to use. And you can't really say that about many phones these days. And fun fact, this is the first Android phone I had purchased since 2018, so it's a little bit of a culture shock coming back to Android after all this time, but I've just been so blown away by how polished and refined the OS feels now. It's got this nice buttery feel to it that I just can't get enough of. And it's definitely a far cry from when I used Android almost 10 years ago. It feels feels so much better now than it did back then. And I don't want to bring iOS into this situation, but I'll talk about it briefly. Not to be controversial, but I think iOS still generally has a slight edge in terms of overall app quality. Even some of Google's own apps seem to run just a little bit smoother on the iPhone. Of course, it's easier to optimize an app for the iPhone, so I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. Having said that, I have many of the same apps installed on both phones, and not a single one is glaringly worse on the Pixel Fold. They're almost always pretty even. What I really appreciate about Google's version of Android is the personality it gives the phone. It's fun, it's quirky at times, and it's not afraid to be a little bit different just for the sake of being different. And I think the Pixel Weather app is a phenomenal example of this. It's just so different for a weather app, but it's fun at the same time. And I really love the shapes and the colors and just the playful way that Google represents information on the phone. And you can definitely compare that to Apple's weather app, which looks nice, but almost feels pretty sterile in comparison. And it's really these little touches of personality that have really made me enjoy using the phone and the OS in general. Since we're talking about personality, we absolutely have to talk about the screens a little bit more. The short and squat front display is a beautiful 5.8-inch panel, and it runs at a smooth 120 Hz. Content looks fantastic. The phone is perfectly usable in its closed state, which I love, and I genuinely think this style of foldable is underrated, but I would love to see it come back at some point. To me, it just makes more sense to go wide instead of tall. But I don't manufacture phones, so, and especially for folding devices, it really benefits both the outer display and the inner display. And of course, the big draw with folding phones is the huge inner display. Once you unfold the device, you're greeted with an exceptionally clear 7.6-inch inner display. Again, it's got a silky smooth 120 Hz refresh rate. It's bold, it's colorful, and the images really do seem to jump off the screen. And one thing I love is the inner display and the outer display. Both are very, very similar in terms of quality. There really aren't any glaring differences in color accuracy or brightness that would make me say, oh yeah, the inner screen is clearly superior, or oh, I wish the inner screen could get as bright as the outer display. That just isn't a problem here. They feel very well balanced and polished. Now, how often do I actually use the inner display? I find myself unfolding the Pixel Fold constantly. Consuming content on this thing is just a pleasure. YouTube videos look awesome, Netflix is great, it's become a fantastic companion alongside my 16 Pro Max and my Pixel 10. And this is the first foldable I've ever had, and the novelty and the fun factor really haven't worn off even since March. It's just always fun to use. Okay, so being a Pixel phone, we have to talk about cameras, and there are actually 5 cameras on this phone. Now we have a 9.5 megapixel front-facing camera, an 8 megapixel inner front-facing camera, which is tucked into the bezel, and then on the rear, we've got a very versatile setup featuring a 48 megapixel main sensor, a 10.8 megapixel ultra-wide, and then a 10.8 megapixel telephoto lens as well. And I've said it before, but the way Google handles photos is pretty much second to none at this point. The post-processing is excellent, and I've captured some really stunning shots with all of the rear cameras. The clarity and color accuracy are just fantastic, and Pixel photos tend to have a really true-to-life feel that I really appreciate. Now for the selfie cameras, I haven't used them too extensively, mostly just for some short-form content and some light selfies here or there. I do it too, but everything I've seen has produced really great looking images and video. Now we need to talk about the one area where my Pixel Fold is showing its age. It's the battery. Now, it originally packed a 4,821 milliamp hour cell, but after what appears to be over 500 charge cycles with my phone, the battery capacity has definitely degraded quite a bit. It does still hold up pretty reasonably well. You can go ahead and watch my day in the life video if you want to see a full day with it, and it often does give me about 6 hours of screen time, sometimes less, but under heavy load like extended video watching, or gaming, you can definitely see it drain a bit more quickly. And if this were my primary device, I would definitely consider getting the battery replaced. So just something to keep in mind if you are buying a used Pixel Fold. Now, one aspect of the Pixel Fold that really surprised me is the fingerprint sensor and the power button here. You can, of course, unlock the phone with facial recognition if that's your preference, but the fingerprint sensor is so fast and reliable that I honestly never felt the need to turn Face Unlock on with this phone. And I haven't even used a physical fingerprint sensor on a phone in years, but it's so easy to use. And I could definitely see them making a comeback, especially if under-display camera technology becomes more prevalent. All right guys, so my final thoughts on the original Google Pixel Fold. I love this phone. I adore it, I really do. This is genuinely just a fun phone to use. It's got a unique and convenient form factor that fits in pretty much any pocket. It's got plenty of megapixels for great photos, and the photos and videos still look good even by 2025 standards. And not to mention, you are getting 3 more years of software updates with this phone, so I think it's still a good purchase. And if you've been hesitant about picking up your own Google Pixel Fold to dangle your little toesies into the foldable ecosystem, don't hesitate at all. I think you will genuinely enjoy every minute of using this device. So there we have it, you guys, my final review of the original Google Pixel Fold. And this phone is very near and dear to my heart because my first content that started doing really well on this channel was with this phone, so I'm forever grateful for it. But let me know what you think of the Google Pixel Fold in the comments. Do you have the original? Do you have the 9? Are you getting the 10? Let me know, I want to hear from you. And go ahead and get subscribed to see more episodes of Planned Obsolescence, where I review older phones and see if they still hold up in today's world. I'm Dan, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. Have a great day. Peace.